Exodus chapters 28 and 29. And do thou take to thyself both Aaron thy brother and his sons, even the children of Israel, so that Aaron and Nadab and Abiud and Eleazar and Ithamar, sons of Aaron, may minister to me. And thou shalt make holy apparel for Aaron thy brother, for honor and glory. And speak thou to all those who are wise and understanding, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom and perception, and they shall make the holy apparel of Aaron for the sanctuary, in which apparel he shall minister to me as priests. And these are the garments which they shall make: the breastplate, and the shoulder piece, and the full-length robe, and the tunic with the fringe, and the tire, and the girdle. They shall make the holy garments for Aaron and his sons to minister to me as priests. They shall take the gold, and the blue, and the purple, and the scarlet, and the fine linen, and they shall make the shoulder piece of fine linen spun, the woven work of the embroiderer. It shall have 2 shoulder pieces joined together, fastened on 2 sides. And the woven work of the shoulder pieces, which is upon it, shall be of 1 piece according to the work, of pure gold, and blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine twined linen. And thou shalt take the 2 stones, the stones of the emerald, and thou shalt grave on them the names of the children of Israel, 6 names on the first stone, and the other 6 names on the second stone according to their births. It shall be the work of the stone engraver's art. As the engraving of a seal, thou shalt engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. And thou shalt put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the shoulder piece. They are memorial stones for the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel before the Lord on his 2 shoulders, a memorial for them. And thou shalt make circlets of pure gold, and thou shalt make 2 fringes of pure gold, variegated with flowers, wreathen work, and thou shalt put the wreathen fringes on the circlets, fastening them on their shoulder pieces on front. And thou shalt make the oracle of judgment, the work of the embroiderer, in keeping with the ephod. Thou shalt make it of gold, and blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine linen spun. Thou shalt make it square. It shall be double, of a span the length of it, and of a span the breadth. And thou shalt interweave with it a texture of 4 rows of stone. There shall be a row of stones, a sardius, a topaz, an emerald, the first row. And the second row, a carbuncle, a sapphire, and a jasper. And the third row, a ligure, an agate, an amethyst. And the fourth row, a chrysolite, and a beryl, and an onyx stone, set round with gold, bound together with gold. Let them be according to their row. And let the stones of the names of the children of Israel be 12 according to their names, engravings as of seals. Let them be for the 12 tribes, each according to the name. And thou shalt make on the oracle woven fringes, a chainwork of pure gold. And thou shalt make upon the oracle 2 golden rings, and thou shalt put the 2 golden rings on both the upper corners of the oracle. And thou shalt put the fringes and the chains of gold on the 2 rings on both sides of the oracle. And thou shalt put 2 sides of the 2 fringes on the 2 hems, and thou shalt put the shoulders of the ephod opposite in front. And thou shalt make 2 golden rings, and shalt put them on the 2 edges of the oracle, on the top from the top of the back of the ephod within. And thou shalt make 2 golden rings, and shalt put them on both the shoulders of the ephod, beneath it in front, to meet the coupling above the woven work of the ephod. And thou shalt fasten the oracle by the rings upon it to the rings of the ephod joined with blue lace, and attached to the woven work of the ephod, that the oracle may not be loosed from the ephod. And Aaron shall take the names of the children of Israel on the oracle of judgment on his breast, a memorial before God for him as he goes into the sanctuary. And thou shalt put the fringes on the oracle of judgment. Thou shalt put wreaths on both sides of the oracle, and thou shalt put the 2 circles on both the shoulders of the ephod in front. And thou shalt put the manifestation and the truth on the oracle of judgment, and it shall be on the breast of Aaron, when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and Aaron shall bear the judgments of the children of Israel on his breast before the Lord continually. And thou shalt make a full-length tunic all of blue, and the opening of it shall be in the middle, having a fringe round about the opening, the work of the weaver, woven together in joining the same piece, that it might not be rent. And under the fringes of the robe below, thou shalt make it as it were pomegranates of a flowering pomegranate tree, of blue, and purple, and spun scarlet, and fine linen spun, under the fringe of the robe round about. Golden pomegranates of the same shape, and bells round about between these. A bell by the side of a golden pomegranate, and flower work on the fringe of the robe round about. And the sound of Aaron shall be audible when he ministers, as he goes into the sanctuary before the Lord, and as he goes out, that he die not. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and thou shalt grave on it as of the graving of a signet, holiness of the Lord. And thou shalt put it on the spun blue cloth, and it shall be on the mitre, and it shall be on the front of the mitre, and it shall be on the forehead of Aaron. And Aaron shall bear away the sins of their holy things, all that the children of Israel shall sanctify of every gift of their holy things. And it shall be on the forehead of Aaron continually, acceptable for them before the Lord. And the fringe of the garment shall be of fine linen, and thou shalt make a tire of fine linen, and thou shalt make a girdle, the work of the embroidery. And for the sons of Aaron thou shalt make tunics and girdles, and thou shalt make for them tires for honor and glory. And thou shalt put them on Aaron thy brother, and his sons with them. And thou shalt anoint them, and fill their hands, and thou shalt sanctify them, that they may minister to me in the priest's office. And thou shalt make for them linen drawers to cover the nakedness of their flesh, and they shall reach from the loins to the thighs. And Aaron shall have them, and his sons, whenever they enter into the tabernacle of witness, or when they shall advance to the altar of the sanctuary to minister, so they shall not bring sin upon themselves, lest they die. It is a perpetual statute for him, and for his seed after him. And these are the things thou shalt do to them. Thou shalt sanctify them, so they shall serve me in the priesthood. And thou shalt take one young calf from the herd, and 2 unblemished rams, and unleavened loaves kneaded with oil, and unleavened cakes anointed with oil. Thou shalt make them of fine flour of wheat. And thou shalt put them on one basket, and thou shalt offer them on the basket, and the young calf and the 2 rams. And thou shalt bring Aaron and his sons to the doors of the tabernacle of testimony, and thou shalt wash them with water. And having taken the garments, thou shalt put on Aaron thy brother both the full-length robe, and the ephod, and the oracle. And thou shalt join for him the oracle to the ephod. And thou shalt put the mitre on his head, and thou shalt put the plate, even the holiness, on the mitre. And thou shalt take of the anointing oil, and thou shalt pour it on his head, and shalt anoint him. And thou shalt bring his sons, and put garnets on them. And thou shalt gird them with the girdles, and put the tires upon them. And they shall have priestly office to me forever. And thou shalt fill the hands of Aaron, and the hands of his sons. And thou shalt bring the calf to the door of the tabernacle of witness. And Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the calf before the Lord, by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. And thou shalt slay the calf before the Lord, by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. And thou shalt take of the blood of the calf, and put it on the horns of the altar with thy finger. But all the rest of the blood thou shalt pour at the foot of the altar. And thou shalt take all the fat that is on the belly, and the lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is upon them, and shalt put them upon the altar. But the flesh of the calf, and his skin, and his dung, shalt thou burn with the fire without the camp, for it is an offering on account of sin. And thou shalt take 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on the head of the ram. And thou shalt kill it, and take the blood, and pour it on the altar round about. And thou shalt divide the ram by several limbs. And thou shalt wash the inward parts and the feet with water, and thou shalt put them on the divided parts with the head. And thou shalt offer the whole ram on the altar, a whole burnt offering to the Lord for a sweet-smelling savor. It is an offering of incense to the Lord. And thou shalt take the 2nd ram, and Aaron and his son shall lay their hands on the head of the ram. And thou shalt kill it, and take of the blood of it, and put it on the tip of Aaron's right ear, and on the thumb of his right hand, and on the great toe of his right foot, and on the tips of the right ears of his sons, and on the thumbs of their right hands, and on the great toes of their right feet. And thou shalt take of the blood from the altar, and the anointing oil, and thou shalt sprinkle it upon Aaron, and on his garments, and on his sons' garments with him. And he shall be sanctified, and his apparel, and his sons' apparel with them. But the blood of the ram thou shalt pour round about the altar, and thou shalt take from the ram its fat, both the fat that covers the belly, and the lobe of the liver, and the 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them, and the right shoulder, for this is the consecration. And 1 cake made with oil, and 1 cake made from the basket of unleavened bread, set forth before the Lord. And thou shalt put them on the hands of Aaron, and on the hands of his sons, and thou shalt separate them as a separate offering before the Lord. And thou shalt take them from their hands, and shalt offer them up on the altar of whole burnt offering, for a sweet-smelling savor before the Lord. It is an offering to the Lord. And thou shalt take the breast from the ram of consecration, which is Aaron's, and thou shalt separate it as a separate offering before the Lord. And it shall be to thee for a portion. And thou shalt sanctify the separated breast and the shoulder of the removal of which has been separated, and which has been removed from the ram of consecration, of the portion of Aaron and that of his sons. And it shall be a perpetual statute to the children of Israel, to Aaron and his sons, for this is a separate offering. and it shall be a special offering from the children of Israel, from the peace offerings of the children of Israel, a special offering to the Lord. And the apparel of the sanctuary which is Aaron shall be his sons as after him, for them to be anointed in them, and to fill their hands. The priest, his successor from among his sons, who shall go into the tabernacle of witness to minister in the holies, shall put them on 7 days. And thou shalt take the ram of consecration, and thou shalt boil the flesh in the holy place. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram, and the loaves in the basket, by the doors of the tabernacle of witness. They shall eat the offerings with which they were sanctified to fill their hands, to sanctify them, and a stranger shall not eat of them, for they are holy. And if aught be left of the flesh of the sacrifice of consecration and of the loaves until morning, thou shalt burn the remainder with fire. It shall not be eaten, for it is a holy thing. And thus shalt thou do for Aaron and for his sons according to all things that I have commanded thee. 7 days shalt thou fill their hands. And thou shalt sacrifice the calf of the sin offering on the day of purification. And thou shalt purify the altar when thou dost perform consecration upon it. And thou shalt anoint it so as to sanctify it. 7 days shalt thou purify the altar and sanctify it, and the altar shall be most holy. Every one that touches the altar shall be hallowed. And these are their offerings which thou shalt offer upon the altar: 2 unblemished lambs of a year old daily on the altar, continually a constant offering. 1 lamb thou shalt offer in the morning, and the 2nd lamb thou shalt offer in the evening. And a 10th measure of fine flour mingled with the 4th part of a hin of beaten oil, and drink offering the 4th part of a hin of wine for 1 lamb. And thou shalt offer the 2nd lamb in the evening, after the manner of the morning offering, and according to the drink offering of the morning lamb. Thou shalt offer it an offering to the Lord, for a sweet-smelling savor, a perpetual sacrifice throughout your generations, at the door of the tabernacle of witness before the Lord, wherein I will be known to thee from thence, so as to speak to thee. And I will there give orders to the children of Israel, and I will be sanctified in my glory. And I will sanctify the tabernacle of testimony, and the altar, and I will sanctify Aaron and his sons to minister as priests to me. And I will be called upon among the children of Israel, and will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, to be called upon by them, and to be their God. Psalm 29:30 in Hebrew. For the end. A psalm and song at the dedication of the house of David. I will exalt thee, O Lord, for thou hast lifted me up, and not caused mine enemies to rejoice over me. O Lord my God, I cried to thee, and thou didst heal me. O Lord, thou hast brought up my soul from Hades. Thou hast delivered me from among them that go down to the pit. Sing to the Lord, ye his saints. Give thanks to the remembrance of his holiness. For anger is in his wrath, but life in his favor. Weeping shall tarry for the evening, but joy shall be in the morning. And I said in my prosperity, I shall never be moved. O Lord, in thy good pleasure thou didst add strength to my beauty, but thou didst turn away thy face, and I was troubled. To thee, O Lord, will I cry, and to my God will I make supplication. What profit is there in my blood, when I go down to destruction? Shall the dust give praise to thee, or shall it declare thy truth? The Lord heard, and he had compassion upon me. The Lord has become my helper. Thou hast turned my mourning into joy for me. Thou hast rent off my sackcloth, and girded me with gladness, that my glory may sing praise to thee, and I may not be pierced with sorrow. O Lord my God, I will give thanks to thee forever. Proverbs chapter 6, verses 1 through 5. My son, if thou become surety for thy friend, thou shalt deliver thine hand to an enemy. For a man's own lips become a strong snare to him, and he is caught with the lips of his own mouth. My son, do what I command thee, and deliver thyself. For on thy friend's account thou art come into the power of evil men. Faint not, but stir up even thy friend, for whom thou art become surety. Give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber with thine eyelids, that thou mayest deliver thyself as a doe out of the toils, and as a bird out of the snare. The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 18, verses 21 through 35. Then came Peter to him, and said, Lord, how oft shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? Jesus saith unto him, I say not unto thee, until 7 times, but until 70 times 7. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened to a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But forasmuch as he had not to pay, his lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife, and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out, and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me what thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet, and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. But he would not, but went and cast him into prison, till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto the Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desiredst me. Shouldest thou not also have compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that he was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses.